Well, hey McFly subscribers. So I'm doing a different kind of video here today. As you can see, I'm in my kitchen. And I'm not doing fly tying, I'm not doing fishing, actually nothing to do with fishing. If any of you have been following my Instagram channel, you know that every once in a while I post up stuff I do with like fermenting. For instance, making sauerkraut. I made fermented pickles recently. In fact, I've just started kombucha back here. These two jars, been doing kombucha. So it's something I've been doing lately. And the reason why is about 6 months ago or so, I started having some health issues, and you know, I had to go do some surgeries and do some things. But one of the main things I wanted to do is get back to health. Well, you know, part of that was fixing my gut and fixing how you know, digestion and stuff like that, which is one of the main problems I had. So I got into, first thing I did was make sauerkraut, which is basically cabbage, fermented cabbage. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here today. And over the time in the last 6 months, I've been kind of working at it, and I'm no expert here. I mean, there's people that are probably way better at this than I am. But this is so easy. I mean, really, you do a couple of them, you're pretty much an expert anyway. In fact, here's some sauerkraut I got going right now, okay? And that I started on the 8th. So it's been going a while. This one's almost ready to go. In fact, it probably is ready. But I really like adding a little garlic to my sauerkraut, but you can tailor it to whatever flavors you like. I put a little garlic, a little mustard, and stuff like that. But really simple. You want to make sure first, everything needs to be clean. I mean, it doesn't have to be sanitized, but it does need to be clean. So wash everything down, wipe everything down, wash your hands before you start touching everything, you know, and then try not to, you know, sneeze on the food or stuff like that. But this is actually much safer than anything else, okay? So you're making fermented foods and you think, okay, well, that's not safe, but actually the bacteria that grows in it is beneficial bacteria. You hear about taking, you know, probiotics and stuff like that, eating yogurt. Well, it's the same thing, only sauerkraut specifically has tons of nutrients. A lot of vitamin C, by the way, guys, so tons of really good nutrients. And that bacteria there's more beneficial bacteria for sauerkraut than anything else. So that's why I kind of focus on sauerkraut, but I've been making a bunch of different stuff for beneficial flora in your stomach, right? So now with this crazy corona thing going on, I mean, you know, I started this for health, and now I've learned how to kind of preserve my food, but it not only ferments it, but it preserves it. I mean, you know, this would go bad in a couple days sitting out on your counter, but now you ferment it, you've got it in, you know, sauerkraut form. It'll stay on your counter for multiple days. And excuse the shuffling back there, my kids are here. We're kind of pretty much self-quarantining right now because we can't get out. So we're stuck at the house. So we're all here and can't really get out. So you're gonna hear them in the background, but that's okay. So let's get started. I'm gonna start by cutting these very, very fine, okay? And with a knife, and I just use a knife. I mean, if you've got something that you can, you know, shave them with, that's fine, but I'll show you how you can do it with a knife. It's really, really simple, okay? But you want to make sure it's organic, by the way, guys. And the reason why is non-organic could have pesticides on it, which would kill the beneficial bacteria, and then it'll rot rather than preserve, okay? All right, guys, so the things that you need, just for this specifically, is cabbage, organic cabbage. You need a large bowl, okay? Maybe even larger than this if you can. I just do it in batches. You need salt. Salt is very important. To be precise, you need a kitchen scale, okay? So something that can actually do it, what they call a tare, so reset. So you can set something on, measure the weight, and then, you know, reset it so that way when you set your bowl on, you can make it to 0. So I just use these, you know, canning jars, okay? And then you want weights. So these are glass weights that set on top. They make plastic ones. They make, you don't want to use metal, okay? Because this will turn acidic and then hurt the metal and then leak into your food. You don't want that. But these, basically you can grab it and you set it on top, and then it basically holds the cabbage down. So you got to keep it out of the air, right? So anaerobic, so out of the air. And so that allows you to do that, so that keeps it down. And then you need something. So you could either just burp it, you know, screw the lid on and then burp it every couple days, which, you know, because basically this is going to release CO2. So basically these could explode if you don't burp it every once in a while. I mean, they wouldn't explode. They would more crack really, but it would get everything everywhere and ruin your ferment. So these have like a little silicone thing, and they go on with the little screw top on top. They're pretty neat, but they have like a little opening here. So it allows, if this gets too much pressure inside, it'll, you know, psst. And I'll also put a link of where you can buy these on Amazon. That's where I got these. They're really inexpensive. You know, if you already have these canning jars, you can get them at Walmart, I think still, hopefully. You can get like a case of 12 of them for, I don't know, or maybe 10 of them. I don't know how many come in a case, but maybe it's 15, I don't know. It comes in a lot, and they're not that expensive. It's like $11. And you want the quart size with the wide mouth, okay? I use that, but they make bigger, they make larger, they make a half-gallon size and whatnot if you want to do that, but these work fine. I can make smaller batches. All right guys, so how you start, this is how I cut it. You don't have to cut it this way, but I just go right down the center. Now you want to make sure you got a sharp knife, okay? So sharpen it, pre-sharpen it beforehand. Peel off a couple of the layers. Some of these are dirty, so just make sure that, you know, there's no dirty layers. And that's down to some clean cabbage right there. So you don't have to cut them in quarters. I just start going like this and I start chopping, okay? But if you want to, it's easier to manage. Quarters is fine too, okay? So same thing, let's pull off the excess here. So basically you want to cut this as fine as you possibly can, because the finer it is, the more surface area and the faster it'll ferment. Now when I first start, the first couple cuts, I find that I like to cut that even finer there, but then once it starts going, it becomes shredded, kind of like that. The first couple is not, so. Once you reach the core there, then I start cutting from the side. And then, to get everything, I turn it like that. Here's the core there. You still got some up this way. So I find roughly, it depends on the size of your cabbage. Usually the organics are a little bit smaller, but if you got large organic cabbage, a half might be enough to fill up the jar. And I find in weight-wise, when you measure it out, about 750 grams. So I measure by the gram on this because more precise. 750 grams help, or basically will fit into this, okay? Up to about 800, but after that it starts getting a little bit too packed on the top, and then you can have spillage over. So anyway, chop up one cabbage and then see where it's at. So it turned out that I needed a little more cabbage to reach 750 grams. All right, so this should be pretty darn close, okay? It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. It was, I think, 755. Messing with the camera now, I'm forgetting exactly what it was. It doesn't have to be perfect. You do want to, you know, overshoot the salt though, because you got to have at least 2%. So how you do that is you take the weight of the cabbage, and I think it was 755 times 0.02 equals about 15 grams. Okay, so you measure out 15 grams on your scale. All right, so we want 15 grams. This is Himalayan pink salt. It's a lot of it. So you can use, you know, anything without iodine pretty much will work. There we go, 16 grams. So that's over it. You want to go over the 15 because it was 15.1, so you definitely want to shoot over it. So that 16 is good enough, I think, right there. Now, I'm actually going to use less, and I'll tell you why. So the reason why I'm using less is I've already made a batch, and I've got it right here. And I can start with a little bit of the juice from this batch and put a couple tablespoons of that juice in there, which actually kickstarts it faster. The salt basically keeps the bad bacteria from growing, because salt is, they can't handle the salt. But the good bacteria can, so when you put the salt in, the good bacteria can grow. So I'm going to put a little bit of this starter. I'm going to actually use less. I'm going to put 1.5 grams of salt in. 11.3, so I do 12. I do 12 grams of salt just to drop the amount of salt because I don't like having that much salt. And that will allow me to use less salt but also keep it safe, because if you use less than 2%, the bad bacteria might be able to grow, but not if you drop the acidity by putting this, if you've already done one. But the first time you do it, use 2%, definitely, at least. Maybe even knock it up to 2.2%. And then whatever juice is left over when you're done eating that sauerkraut, make another batch, pour that juice in, and you can use that less at that point. Okay, that's what I do. Okay, I've never had any problems with it, so. All right, so simple. We just basically sprinkle the salt over the cabbage and start tossing it in. Now, I forgot to add the garlic, and I forgot to add the spices, which is like mustard seed and whatnot. So that's okay. That's not a whole lot since I did go a little over with the salt. I'm just going to add some in, and that's going to be okay. Just like a clove or two of garlic is not that much. Basically, this salt is going to just pull all the moisture out of the cabbage. The longer it sits, the longer it's going to do that, so that's fine. Now once you toss it, I'm going to chop up the garlic, and I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Then we're literally just trying to bruise it, basically. Don't worry, that's normal. You want to just squeeze as tight as you can, get it, extract all the juices. And you want to do this, it'll take 5-10 minutes or so. You can even, if you're getting tired from it, let it set for a second. Wash your hands off, let it set and wait. It'll start extracting more of that juice, and then you can squeeze it out easier. You can see some of the juice is coming out. So if you've already made a batch like me, and you're going to add some of the liquid from the previous batch, then get it ready. Now we're going to stuff the cabbage into the canning jar, and you want to pack it down really tightly. Don't worry, all this cabbage will fit. Make sure and get every last little bit, especially all of the salt. Don't leave any behind. Now put a little bit of the cabbage and some of the juice from the previous ferment if you're doing that. If this is your first batch, then scratch this. Make sure and not leave any little pieces floating, as they could rot. Now, if you're not done fermenting the previous ferment, you can just put the weight on top and put it back to ferment longer. But if it's done fermenting, go ahead and put a lid on top and stick it in your fridge. And it should last in your fridge for many months. But it'll also last on the counter for quite a long time. It just might start getting more and more sour, but it's up to you. Always label with the date of everything you do so you know when you started. And here's some kombucha that I'm doing right now too. It's only a day old, so we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys posted on Instagram. Well guys, that's it. That's how you make sauerkraut. I'm actually editing the video right now, and I figured I'd do an outro. I don't even know if that's a thing, but anyway. I hope that it helped you guys. I know a lot of you on my Instagram were asking, how do I make the sauerkraut? So I figured, I'll throw a video in. I know it's not having to do with fly fishing. It's totally not normal to my channel to do cooking stuff or anything like that, but it is something I do on Instagram just because, Instagram's a little more I use it a little more personally. Showing some flies that I've tied that I might not put on video, stuff like that. So definitely check out the Instagram, say hi on there, add me. It's just McFly Angler. It's easy to do, but you can keep track of all the ferments I'm doing if that's interesting to you, or even the flies that I'm tying, stuff like that. So, by the way, guys, I am hoping that I get the license soon to be able to sell on like a mass scale here. I've been tying a ton of flies. I've got a whole bunch right up there. Those boxes are pretty much filled with nymphs and dries and some streamers and stuff like that. And I'm building a website right now to be able to sell on there. But I also sell, just like custom ties and stuff like that. And I probably will use PayPal or whatever for payment. But if you guys are interested in buying some flies, put in orders now. Let me know what you're interested in buying if you want to buy some flies, and I'll go ahead and put you on the list and get you some that way. And the best way to let me know is on Instagram. Just private message me there on Instagram. I'll be able to take the orders, lay them out of what it is, try to tie the flies, have them ready, and as soon as I get that license, I'm hoping soon, I'll be able to ship those out to you. Links to everything that I used today is in the description section to Amazon, where you can get it delivered to your door. Right now, we're not really supposed to be going outside very often, so if you're already at Walmart, I know I mentioned Walmart in the video, but might not want to, and you probably shouldn't be going out to Walmart. Definitely try to stay home as much as you can, so you're not infecting others if you have it, or you don't get it from others, right? This virus thing. But if you're at Walmart, get them. They're there. Otherwise, some of these things, like the canning supplies and whatnot, the rest of it I will link in the description section. So if you don't have any of this, everything can be bought in the description section. I will link to where you can buy them. At least, hopefully, they're available when you watch this video. It seems like things are going out of stock really quickly on Amazon, but I'll try to keep up with it for the next week or two to make sure that those items are still in stock, and I'll be posting links to where you can get the exact same item, or at least something similar, or at least does the same thing, or close enough. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Now you go catch some fish and eat healthy. All right, I'll talk to you later.